we'll just have.
Who owns that house where it's sitting?
Okay,
I'm not sure.
Alrighty,
okay. Are you live?
yes, very well.
Okay, all right, welcome to the Town of Tallulah Falls Planning and Zoning Meeting, March the 9th, 2022, 6 p.m. All board members are present. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as written or make changes? Mike?
I second
All in favor? Motion passed. Third item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from February 9th, 2022. They're in your packet. Someone would like to make a motion to approve those.
I'm also-
Okay, so that was. Barbara,
Can I get a second? All in favor? All right. Motion passed. Old business, at our last meeting, we talked about sign ordinance and Linda has made those changes. We've got those here, but I think there's a couple things we need to talk about. So we got the draft changes from January 12th and then again on February the 9th. The ones in blue are from February and the ones in red are from January. And pretty much we had followed the sign ordinance from GMA's model ordinance and then inserted those with a few changes that we felt that fit Tallulah Falls. And then on page 9, Christie, you want to talk to them about the
yes, on page
section 28?
Page 9 in section 2814, for the signs permitted by zoning district, we need to change those. Those definitions came from, or those types of signs came from the original ordinance definitions. And we replaced those with the GMA definitions because they were a lot easier to understand last time. So I think we need to get those, we need to replace that.
So we would just go with the GMA guidance and not use the off, or not use those three at all, or,
Or either we're gonna have to bring those three definitions into, from the old, from our previous definitions into these, but we don't talk about those anywhere else and what they are, so I feel like we need to find which ones those are in the new definitions and make them match.
okay. Right there.
I don't even see them in the old definition.
Look at
They've
the
gotta be
old.
somewhere else. In the old stuff.
So does someone want to make a motion just to use the GMA's guidance there? And let Linda insert those, or do you want to actually have a definition for them?
So specifically, we're talking about 28.8.
2814 on page 9.
Incidental use signs, accessory use signs, and then,
But in the old definitions, I don't even see those anyway.
and that would be,
On
You're
page
talking about
9.
2813 or 14?
14.
14.
Yeah, those ones that she wrote right next to it.
Yeah, I see that.
I think we need to come up with definitions and insert those definitions in and leave those as is. Because incidental would be temporary. Am I right with that thinking?
That's what I'm thinking. And then an accessory sign, there's not. What would be an accessory sign? That wouldn't. Would that be like the
I
sandwich sign?
don't see it in the original
I don't know.
definitions. Let's look and see if it was in that.
Yeah, what is an accessory sign?
Let me look it up.
If it, the incidental signs, I think are a little bit more substantial than what we're talking about.
They were not in our original ordinance, they were in the original zoning ordinance, not in the code.
Section
it says-
601.
Accessory signs are non-illuminated, either freestanding or attached, not exceeding 4 square feet in area and pertaining only to rent, lease, or sale of the premises upon which it is displayed, or a business identification sign, either freestanding or attached, not exceeding 8 square feet, on which the name and nature of business operated on the premises is as an accessory use are shown.
And you're reading off of page what now?
No, this is off of,
GMA.
no, in January, we were given the zoning
Yeah.
ordinance and the code. And I only found the definitions in the zoning ordinance, not even in our code.
Yes.
No, I brought this from our January meeting.
Because if the permitted sign section 601, in page 10 of
Okay.
the town of Tallulah Falls.
According to the internet, the accessory sign means a sign
See
intended
it?
to
Oh, there it is.
advertise for,
That's
oh,
what,
you
yeah,
got
okay,
it?
it matches, it's from this one, so,
So it's already in there. But
But
they're
it's
more
not in-
substantial than
Oh,
what
there it
we're
is.
talking about.
but it's not in the. Is this still the, yeah, I guess it's in there.
You kind of redundant to
Put it back in the other place too.
I mean, let's just make sure that that permitted signs is in what we're drafting now, correct? And that's all we really need to.
Yeah, I don't. But are these two separate documents?
I don't know.
Are you talking about in the GMA, January?
No, if you look at page Linda Mark, we need to look at
See, and then it's in
section
here.
14 on page 9 about, because we don't talk about those anywhere else in the ordinance. But then if you flip the page to the next, flip over to the next page, in the appendix, right there, the first section has the definition of all three of those.
Well, at the top, this says it's part 2 of Code of Ordinance, so
Yeah.
it should be,
Well, it's in this one too,
What page is that?
page 7. Look at page 7 of the Code of Ordinances. And be section 601.
I don't see it on page 7.
Page 7 of 11.
Oh, I'm not in.
are you
I don't
looking
have a
at
set
the
of
last month?
You have this, this is the changes, the draft changes.
Oh, from that. Okay.
Yeah, look at the draft changes. And then look at page 7. And you'll
Oh, so
see
it would
this-
still be attached.
You'll see 601.
Yeah, it's still, she just made it a whole separate document in this one.
So that takes care of accessory signs. What about the incidental signs?
They're
Is it in
another-
there?
Same,
all the way
it's the
through.
next.
All the way through.
Yeah,
Okay.
look, Pat, turn the page, you'll see,
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
don't have that document.
You did, the one from tonight is page 10.
Oh, okay.
It's just number 2. And then principal use is number 3.
we just need to make sure that's on our draft. I mean,
Yeah, if it has to be in both places.
Yeah, page 11. Or, sorry, page 10 of this document.
what else about? Was there something about 20?
Thank
I
you.
saw something like that. She said something about it.
She said something to you about it?
No, I thought I saw something. Yeah. I'm kind of like a mushroom. I get left in the dark. Let's see here.
Okay, so we shouldn't have to do anything with that since it's already listed, right? It's got the definitions.
You don't know.
We just want to make sure that it's in the right places in the draft. That's all we really need to do.
Yeah, it may have to come back and be in both places,
Yeah.
in that appendix and in the. Oh, I see why, because we totally scratched it.
Yeah, so we should have just not scratched that or whatever.
Yeah, let's come back and leave that.
We can just put it in yellow or whatever.
Yeah. Because those are different types of signs than what we put down. Put it back in 28. Okay. Well, I make a motion to put it back in 28.8, what we had originally scratched out.
Okay, we've got a motion, second. All in favor? Or we can pass that on to the city council as recommendations from the planning and zoning.
I'm sorry, can I say something? I don't mean to interrupt you, but I came for the sign ordinance. That's the main reason. and I'm sorry. I'm late.
Okay, would you like to address the meeting? Stand up and that way you can introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Bill Turk and I don't live in Tallulah Falls, but I'm working on the Tallulah Adventure Center. Of the Tallulah Adventures, which is over there, the old George Powell building. So we're working hard to get that looking good and working well. My daughter lives across the street, Main Street. So, and I just knew that there was some discussion on the size of signs. And that's a very important aspect for us. And I just heard that it was, I didn't know the size of it or where y'all were with that, but just wanted to make y'all aware.
Well, what this board will do is make a recommendation to the city council. When you apply for that sign permit, are they gonna discuss this at this month's meeting? You know, is it on the agenda?
I don't know, probably not.
Probably not
Maybe
till
we're
we
not.
end them our draft, which, you know, we got some a little more back and forth, I think.
Yeah,
And then we'll be giving them our draft and then they have to make their changes.
But
And
we'll
then
just let
they'll
them hold our
open it
public
up to
hearing.
public comment. But I mean, we have public comment for input as well. I mean, we want to know everybody's concerns, especially business owners.
Yeah.
We don't want to discourage business.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that we don't have 50-foot by 50-foot signs across from the gorge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just kind of common sense kind of things. But other than that, I mean, we don't want to, I realize in your particular situation, that building is off the street a little bit.
Mhm.
So signs become more important at that point. And we understand that.
So, yeah, we're not gonna use any different sign than what's already there, but we just want to be able to use it like we should use.
Yeah, if you have a sign that's there, basically our ordinance is saying that those are grandfathered
Yeah,
in.
that's what.
We can't really, you know, as long as that sign isn't completely out of the ordinary
Yeah,
and then gets run over by a truck, that's where a problem would come in. Cause you'd have to replace it, and then it would have to go under the new laws. But even then, if you have a legitimate argument, you can still place your argument at that point, and it may be that you could put something up to replace it that was in kind.
Okay.
So,
Would be
you
a
know,
variance request.
we're going with some common sense things here. We're certainly not trying to hinder anybody from doing business. We want to encourage that, if anything.
Okay, well, that makes me feel a lot better. I didn't know where it was going. I just wanted to go.
We appreciate you, Kate.
I hate to see the truck that hits that sign.
Right.
Do you have the draft?
Draft,
Is there a draft that he could be looking at?
The draft of the sign ordinance.
Really
Right.
hate to even show it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm-
Well, when you're ready, you
I'm
can pick
okay.
it up.
It
Definitely.
sounds like it's in process.
it's the
so-
beginning.
So there'll be some comment period, so I'm fine with all that. There's, we're bringing Wander in also. They're gonna be in there too, and that's a concern for them. And I was talking to them about signage earlier today. Just said I knew that was a topic that you guys were discussing, and he told me I'd be. And we don't want anything large and obnoxious. That's not our goal.
Well, we're looking at things like, just so you understand, like, this is just something we're talking about. It says not exceeding 100 square feet for a business identification sign. Well, 100 square feet is 10 by 10. It's quite large. So we're looking at possibly reducing that. But, it also says here, find out what signs are in the city now. So before we make those recommendations, we want to make sure that we're not excluding a lot of signs that are already in use. So I don't know what size the sign is that you're talking
I
about.
think it's about 120 square feet, right around there. I think it's 12 by 9 or something like that, close to 120
And this would be for new signs.
for new size.
You know what I mean? The other thing that we're trying to keep from happening is we're looking at the ideas of not being able to put signs above your roof line. In other words, if you have a sign that's attached to the building, we're trying to keep them at a parapet wall or whatever is appropriate to the building. You follow me?
Yeah, I get that, and we will put some signs up on our buildings, and we want to put some big maps and fun stuff
Yeah.
on our building too, so.
And we've talked about percentages, not to exceed a certain percentage of your building. And so that way it's kind of comparable across the board, also.
Yeah.
And we actually used your building, when we were talking last month or the month before about the side of your building and how big it is and how, while that would look great, something big on the side of your building would look different than something in town on the side of a building over here, because you're just a unique property and not wanting to put everybody in. Making except, we got to cover for everybody because you have a unique property.
But I would definitely suggest that when it gets down to the council, that's the day you'll probably want to come in and they have their discussion about it, just to make sure that you're on board with what's going on. And if you had any questions, that would definitely be it.
Sounds like it's a few months out. We just did our business license, submitted it and getting all that stuff, trying to get ready for June 1st open day. Now, I don't know if we'll hit it or not, but that's what we're trying to do.
Well, good luck.
June, did you say June?
June.
Oh, that's fantastic.
If we get, we got a lot to do.
I see a lot more people walking across the bridge, which is a good sign.
Mhm.
Got a lot more traffic out there, so we wish you luck.
Yeah.
Thank y'all very much.
And we'll get the draft out before we have our public hearing.
Yeah.
We'll try to get it out several days in advance before the first public hearing.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you.
excited.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good
Very
things.
good.
Thank
Take
you.
care, Matt.
Okay, under new business, zoning,
Well, are we gonna do anything else with this?
Oh,
Are we gonna, I feel like we
I
still
think
need to
we
go
just-
through it.
Yeah, we
Okay,
just,
everything,
we
I'm
just
sorry.
kind of stopped last time.
Yeah, I feel like we finished
so what we just voted on was just those changes on,
adding back in that one section.
okay, all right.
talked, we had talked the last time about billboards.
And this is our draft so far, correct? Draft changes from
Yeah,
1/12/22. So this is what we're working with right now.
Right, she made the changes and from February, I'm sorry, yeah, February 9th meeting and January 12th meeting.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of the definitions taken out. Do you just want to start on the front page and work our way back and kind of
We can go through it.
talk about the changes?
Is Linda the one that has taken this out or added to?
yes.
Is she the one that did that?
Under our recommendations, so,
Right.
yeah. So at the February meeting, on page 2, got a good section that we have added in there and changed. And I think we took GMA's model ordinance for that, correct? Billboard sign shall mean any sign with a sign area exceeding 300 square feet. Is that what you wanted to
That's big.
I'm sorry, on what page?
do? Is it-
Yes,
Okay.
and, okay, go ahead.
Well, I
But
mean,
we don't talk about that anywhere in here.
mhm.
So I feel like we need to add that language in, section 13 of GMAs. It's on page 16 of GMAs. So
I didn't bring.
it's at the bottom of page 16, section 13. It talks about the sizing,
I'm 16.
and I think we haven't discussed any of that in our stuff. We've got to get that in there.
So section 13 is general size and location requirement in non-residential district. No freestanding sign may be located within 30 feet of any intersection or right-of-way lines extended. So it goes on to talk about billboards in section C.
Right.
Wow, that's not to exceed 672 square feet.
Wow. That's big.
That is big.
Cool.
So I think we need to really adjust, and it goes on with the stanchion and the monument and the wall and awning signs. All the
Oh, yeah.
different types of signs,
Well, we just
and
wrote
sizes.
none next to the billboard.
We have it though, there's nothing in here for it. In our draft, there's nothing that talks about it that I found.
Well, just
Or we can just put billboard signs and then done.
But we need to address all the other sizes too.
It's billboard signs. Billboard signs shall not exceed 672.
Because I mean, I don't think we
Square
have any
feet.
signs that have anything near that.
Yeah,
No.
billboard signs shall not exceed 14 feet in height and 48 feet in length. Billboard signs shall only be located on parcels in commercial or industrial zoning areas. Billboards signs shall only be located on parcels adjacent to a designated state or federal highway. No billboard sign shall be located within 1,000 feet of another billboard. No billboard shall be located within 500 feet of a residential zoned parcel. No billboard shall be located within 500 feet of any directional of a public park, public playground, public recreation area, public forest, scenic area. Provided, however, that such sign may be located within 500 feet of a public park, wait a minute. Scenic area or cemetery, provided, however, that such sign may be located within 500 feet of a public park, public playground, public recreation. Yeah. When the sign is separated by a building or another obstruction, so that the sign located within the 500-foot zone is not visible from that public park, public place. That's a lot of.
That's what I say, I think it'd be smart to just have billboard signs with a definition and then none allowed.
There's not currently any billboards. I mean, I know there's the school, but it's not
That's not a
considered a billboard. It's a monument, right? On the rocks.
What about the restaurant? And maybe because we're talking signs, I've noticed signs differently. But there seems to be, it looks like it was a new sign on top of the roof, above the roof line. And it's for an insurance, not an insurance company, a real estate company, Liberty,
Where's that, at the restaurant?
at the restaurant.
Yeah, I think they were talking about the fact that somebody had an office in there before. And that, I don't know that sign.
So that's been there for a while?
I thought so. But I'm not
You might be
sure.
right. I just noticed signs differently.
At the last council meeting, that was brought up to the council. And I'd have to go back through the voice recording in the minutes. But my recollection of that is that applicant submitted it and they approved it. So I guess it would typically come back, I don't know how the process works. But it was just done at this last meeting, at the council meeting. And I don't recall the protocol, if it's supposed to come through here first or just, so obviously they approved it at whatever size that was requested on, I hadn't seen it out there, but that was just done last month.
By definition, would that be a billboard?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
billboard.
That's
That's
been
attached, it's an
rescanned.
attached.
But what about,
That's
yeah,
This is
considered an
attached to the roof.
attached.
the one referencing shopping at Lakemont, right here?
Yeah,
If you're coming north before the bridge,
that's a stanchion, I believe.
Mhm.
I believe that's definition is a stanchion.
okay.
And that those can't exceed well.
We don't have-
We don't have a recommendation for it, but the recommendations as it stands is for 150 square feet. Now, whether or not we adopt that or talk about less, but 150 square feet is a lot. I mean, that's a 15 by 10. It's humongous.
But I'm confused, would a request like that, should that come here or would it go directly to the council?
No, we go off what's current, not what we're working on. And
No, I'm
right now,
talking about
it doesn't go to
the
us.
Yeah,
Oh, it doesn't
because we've not,
establish it yet.
right, it's still a draft document.
And it won't come to us anyway, if it meets all of whatever the requirements are, if it meets it and Linda deems that it meets it, it will never come to us.
It'll go to the council.
It will bypass the council too, as long as it meets anything that we come up with, it won't have to go to, Linda can approve it.
Oh,
If it doesn't meet that, they would have to come for an appeal or variance. So it get denied. That's my understanding, is that y'all? Because it was taking too long to get through.
I would think that the wording on the billboard sign would be something like the state definition of a billboard sign is in excess of 672 feet. Those signs won't be allowed in the confines of Tallulah Falls. Because I mean, I don't have brain for that. You could hardly even see it if you're doing the speed limit.
Yeah, because it would only be able to go on commercial property or highway property, and most of that's just.
And if we were to add in here about the public parks,
Yeah, that's half of it.
that's
right
everything,
there.
Mhm.
So
You're
we
only
should probably
limited
hurry
to
up, 'cause somebody's
right in
probably-
front of the recycling center, about the one place you're gonna put it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like not for this city. And I think we could just put the definition of a billboard in our definitions. And, not allowed in Tallulah Falls.
Can we do that legally? I mean,
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, you can't put it, we're not allowing a billboard sign, which the definition of a billboard sign is a freestanding sign no more than 50 feet high at 672 square feet. No. I mean, legally, I don't even know if you could legally allow somebody to do that on the other hand. So. I mean, otherwise, somebody's gonna maybe find a 3-acre parcel that they can do that with, could be a problem. I wouldn't think that'd be a good idea.
I mean, I'm not looking for any billboards in Tallulah Falls, but I just don't want somebody to come and challenge us
Yeah.
later,
I think if these are the requirements that they have right here, pretty much eliminates all of Tallulah Falls.
Yeah.
Because we're surrounded by a public forest. And if you can see it within 500 feet of the public forest,
So then,
Well, if we put no freestanding signs in excess of 150 feet.
Yeah, we can
That's
limit.
gonna cover all of that.
yeah, we don't have to
anyway.
have their maximum.
And we could even put in definitions, billboard sign 675 square feet and above. I mean, if somebody wants to define it.
Yeah, I don't think we should take it out. But we could definitely put limits.
well, I would agree with that.
I just don't think that you're gonna have very many opportunities to put one up if you stuck with all this public.
In the current ordinance, the one that's actually in law right now, there's not a place for billboard signs. In the definitions,
We defined it. But I don't know if there ever was one before. 'Cause the other one was so hard to read.
yeah,
See, in here it says a billboard sign shall be the definitions we added. It says a billboard sign shall be any sign with a sign area exceeding 300 square feet. So we could put in here that you could have one at 300 square feet, but we're topping you out at 400. Can't have anything more than 400, and it cannot be within 500 feet of this. You're gonna limit that. I don't think there's gonna be very many places you're gonna be able to have one.
Question, could you add a height thing too? Because I think y'all were talking about earlier about,
Yeah, 20 feet was what we were talking about.
and that's from the ground to the top of the sign.
And then we allow it, but we're gonna push it down so much that you might not even want one because it's not gonna achieve the purpose that you originally initially thought it was gonna achieve. I mean, like if you go to Clayton, Keller Furniture has one on the right. It's not your typical billboard sign. It's smaller than the others.
yeah, because it's billboard signs today, they can be, lit all day and all night and cause night pollution. You may even want just a box, something on that.
I think we did that every year too with eliminated signs. Yeah, I don't think we should get rid of it, but I think we can definitely scale back the size.
So you want to make that motion as far as the sizes?
But it's not just that, we've got to put in all the sizes. We need to put them in for the other rest of them too, Stanton Monument.
Yeah, we don't even have a
Map,
definition of billboard sign in our draft.
We do, it's in blue,
What page is it?
it's on page 2. We didn't have it originally, that's been scratched out on page 1, but on page 2, there's definition.
Billboard
Give us-
signs shall mean.
The one from the line that
Any
looks like
sign
this.
with exceeding 300 square feet.
I'll do that, that's not it either, on this one right here. This is our current. With the changes that we made last time, this is what Linda put in as our current stuff, current working file. Originally, we didn't have it, but if you flip over to page 2, we added it.
Okay,
So we put anything exceeding 300.
all
But what you're saying is we need to add the language from this document stating the visuals and the percent, or the adjacent property. Right? We want to insert section,
We need to insert some version of section 13, the whole thing into ours,
okay,
but we need to talk about those.
Really, I kind of like Harry's idea, just.
And you
take
know
that
what,
in.
honestly, we might want to look at a billboard sign, if you have one, you have to pay an annual fee of X amount of dollars to keep it, you know, something,
that's a good idea.
because it's a totally different sign than the rest of these signs.
What I was
It's not
saying was,
necessarily for the
I
benefit.
kind of
of-
like Harry's idea of just identifying what a billboard is and say none. I mean, that's clear.
I don't think we can restrict it, but I mean, I would feel that
It
we,
could
that
be
might be
challenged
challenged,
at some point, yeah.
so we'll allow
To
it,
be challenged.
right,
Yeah.
we'll allow it, but these are our restrictions, we'll allow you to have one, but these are the,
Yeah, that's our compromise. is We'll say you can have it, but you can't do it other than this. So in section 13, this is what we need to decide, what portion of this. No freestanding sign may be located within 30 foot of an intersection or a street right of way lines extended. You want that part? So basically, they can't go out here and put one in at the entrance of where the restaurant and the coffee shop is. Can't put one 30 foot. But they could put one, if you keep going, they can't put one anywhere near that anyway, right?
I don't know, that's a little difficult to understand, but to me, it's a safety issue when you've got them all up and down like that and you're having to try to look around
Yeah,
those signs to pull out in traffic on a Sunday afternoon and head south.
my bad, anyway, that was not even under the billboard signs.
But it's under 13, we need to do
13.
the whole thing.
on page 17 of the GMA's guidance. Why can't we just go through and adopt that? And just change the, you know what I'm saying? Let's just look, I mean, we can eliminate if we see, you know, something that maybe doesn't pertain. But if you look at C, billboard signs on page 17. If we just go through and we change that to 300 feet, the first thing. So the first thing we do is we take that and make it 300 feet. And then people can do their own math, and we'll just eliminate the billboard sign shall not exceed. Because we've already said 300 feet. If you want to have a.
Our
word.
definitions say it's anything exceeding, or that a billboard sign is any sign with a sign area exceeding 300 square feet. So 300 up, so if you want to make, you were suggesting make our 300 is our maximum too?
I think so. I mean, you know, that's 10, 15 by 15. Seriously? You want any signs bigger than 15 feet by 15 feet? I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, if you look at that wall,
That's what I was.
you're going actually not quite that long, but 5 feet higher. I mean, that's a billboard sign as far as I'm concerned. I don't even want to look at that, but. You know, I mean, like you said, we've got to have some kind of compromise. And if we've
I
already
mean, we
said,
can make it lower. It doesn't have to be.
I was gonna say, we could
300.
just take out the word exceeding 300 square foot on the draft and just put shall mean any sign area 300 square feet or,
Well, it would depend on what we change these other ones to.
right,
Whatever we change our other ones to could then turn around and dictate how big we allow that one to be,
right.
because it would be in its own.
So for right now, we're just gonna put down 300, but we could change that.
We'll adopt all of section, so we're adopting all of section 13,
Well,
but we're gonna make changes to
well,
the
and
sizes.
that might, like, in other words, I also want to take out that second sentence in one, in subsection 1. Because it's not necessary.
Right, so we just have to take sizes.
Billboard sign shall not exceed,
14 by
whatever.
Let's work backwards. Let's come back to that one. And come down here and choose our other signs first.
Okay,
So we'll know what our maximums are for that, so then we can say a billboard exceeds whatever these maximums are, and then we can come with our cutoff. Do y'all like that idea better?
yeah, that's fine.
So we kind of know what we're working with.
So,
So for the extension signs, we're giving them 150 square feet. The GMA has 150 square feet for parcels exceeding 3 acres. That's still really big. Oh, it's on page 17 of GMA.
Yeah, I got that, but I was looking at what our changes were. Shall mean a freestanding sign mounted on one or more steel poles set in the ground and significant strength and size to support the advertisement portion of such structure which rests upon or is supported by such poles. We don't have the sizes there,
Right.
so that's. You want to stay with 150 square foot in on the stanchion?
I mean, that's what we need to figure out. That's still really large for a 3 acre lot. Because we're talking about they're gonna be facing the road most likely. All of our business property pretty much faces the road. That's still really large. What do y'all think?
Number 2 there says for less than 3 acres, but equal or greater than 3,000 or 30,000 square feet. So that goes to 90 in square footage of the sign.
It's a 9 by 10 sign. Still large. When you find out this is gonna be on a pole
Yeah, I mean, it's a single pole or
up in the air.
does it say what the height is? Will be located on property of commercial or industrial zoning areas shall be limited to one such sign.
what kind of sign you talking about, the stanchion sign?
Stanchion.
Yeah, it says 24 feet. Page 6. About height requirements.
Okay,
So 24 feet in the pole, 24 feet up, we're gonna have a 10 by 9 sign. That's large for, that's what most of ours are gonna probably fall into.
do you want to bring that down to
think we should bring it down.
100, and then bring the less than 30,000 square foot down to 50? Or is that lower than too much? We could say 60, 70.
Yeah, 100 is more than enough. I mean,
I like 102 for the maximum. And then bring the, number 2 down from 90 to 70,
Mhm.
and then number 3, 50? Because this is gonna be on a pole, so it's still gonna stand out.
And insert that whole, with those changes, station signs shall only be located on property in commercial or industrial.
And you're limited to 1 station sign per property.
what about wall and awning signs? Are we doing anything with
Yeah, we gotta
that?
get down there to those 2. All right, so a monument sign
Yeah, that's too much.
shall be a freestanding sign mounted directly upon the ground. Such sign may not be attached to or be a part of or supported by the building. So this is a freestanding sign on the ground, not on a pole in the air.
Excuse me, just as a reference, Bill that was here earlier, how big did he say, of course, that's grandfather, but how big did he say that sign was? over there?
120 square foot.
It was kind of.
So it's
giving you a
probably a 10
guideline.
by 12.
Yes, that means
Well,
any commercial property, just to give you a visualization, you can visualize how big that is, because we drive by it, as far as what you decide on your sizes. 'Cause all
Yeah,
commercial-
I don't think we want anything bigger than that, honestly.
No, I understand, but yeah, because the commercial is not just here Main Street, but there's
Right.
the loop, but there's, you know.
Mhm. So it says monument sign shall not exceed 60 square foot. Do we want to leave
Yeah,
that at
that's
60?
that's too much.
Okay.
We're only allowed to have 1, this says only 1 per parcel per street frontage.
Yeah, I don't know how big the Tallulah coffee, I'm trying to visualize how big that one is. Because they have a monument sign, and all, of course, all this is with the grandfather, but I'm just trying to visualize.
Yeah,
You want to bring that down to 50 or 40?
I'm kind of okay with that size, for that. Depending upon, I mean, it really depends upon the structure.
Mhm.
I mean, if their sign was 60 square feet, the one that she's talking about, it fits that structure fine. It's not really off the
It's as
road.
tall as I am, and, from here to that, maybe not quite that far, but.
Yeah, I mean, there's, the whole structure and all of it's probably not 60 square feet, but theirs is their sign is a nice proportionate to their
Mhm.
property. I mean, I don't know, what do y'all think about their sign?
I like smaller signs, honestly, I would.
But they're also,
But you're right, though, it's whatever, how the makeup of them.
right, and theirs
presentation of it.
fits their building nicely, and I feel like if you get much smaller, people aren't gonna necessarily see their sign when it rides by. And their sign blends well with everything else around it. I would hate to try to make it smaller and take away if they were trying to make it blend with the area too, because they could have done a hot pink sign, that really stood out.
But somewhere in here is about it should blend with the character and
I was
the
gonna say,
environment.
that's what we should add to.
So the pink sign would go with. the
Right,
coffee
but I
shop.
mean, it would get people's attention, and it could be smaller versus having one that's a little bit larger and blends nicely.
So if you had that size sign on all the other eligible commercial properties on Main Street which is not that many, but
Exactly.
if you had those big monuments, you know,
It gets,
it kind of changes.
overtakes it,
Well, it also has to be within a certain,
not on that monument, and maybe we should make that monument be, maybe
Yeah,
it should change
commercial.
based off of the, size of their parcel too.
Yeah.
And limit, it's already limited to one, so they can't have more than one like that, but we might wanna look at changing that, that would make it smaller in some instances too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you go off acreage or square footage, so 30,000 square feet is right under an acre.
well, we could say an acre or more for the monument signs. That way, or even more than that.
Well, I think what she was talking about was like, if you have an acre, you can have a 40-foot or 30-foot monument sign. And if you have 2 acres, then you can have a 40-foot monument sign. And if you have 3 or more acres, you can have up to a 60-foot sign.
Okay.
But how many, in reality, how many properties in the city limits of Tallulah Falls are zoned commercial with that amount of acreage?
Probably not last.
Like you say, you want to try to help business, keep the character of the town. So, you have to look at a map, and you look at what are the commercial parcels.
Well, that's why you'd say 1 acre or less,
Yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. I
1
see.
acre or less.
Gotcha.
Or then you go, 2 acres or whatever, and then 3 acres or more, and that's the
Gotcha.
extent
That
of it.
makes sense.
So if you have a 3 acre, obviously you can go to the full extent of the 60 foot. But rather than having a business like one of those 2 restaurants up there, putting up a 60-foot monument sign, you know what I mean, which wouldn't be appropriate.
Well, I misheard earlier the communication of saying less than an acre. I misheard an acre up. We have commercial properties that are less than an acre
Right.
in our town.
Yeah, I would say up to an acre
Is X.
is, whatever size we think. And then, 1.1 acre to 3 acres is another size, and then 3 acres and above would be the maximum size. So, because I was just looking on site of signs, a lot of the signs, a lot of those monument signs, those signs that change,
Mhm.
and the custom signs like that, a lot of them are 5 foot by 2 foot. That's a major size for that. I was just looking, because the best way to look at signs is to go online and act like you're gonna buy one. So you look at the prices and you look at the signage, and they have a bunch of them in there at 66 inches by 19 inches, 24 inches. So that seems to be a pretty big, and they show them up on the pole, The school sign is probably about twice that size, I would guess. It's probably 5 foot by 5 foot if I had to guess.
Probably bigger than that.
Well, things look bigger on a pole when you,
Oh, I'm thinking of their other sign, I'm sorry.
Their monument, yeah.
but I mean, I don't know. I just,
Do you want to say 40 for 1 acre or less? 1.1 to 3 acres, 50, 3 acres and more, 60? That
up to, yeah,
up to
60 or less or whatever, have you, we don't want,
maximum,
Yeah,
not to exceed.
exactly, something like that.
All right, we'll put that not to exceed. I'll just copy that same language from stanchion.
Okay.
If everybody agrees with that, I mean,
I'm fine with that.
Because the smaller the acreage, the smaller the sign, the bigger the parcel.
but you give everybody a chance, to have, it's not like you're limited, just because my business is 1 acre, you're limited for the kind of signs. No, you're just limited to the size.
wall and awning signs.
Yeah, this is a
That
big
one
one.
needs-
We've got quite a few that has in Tallulah Falls. And that's kind of what he was talking about adding to his building too. So this one we kind of need to be a little bit careful with.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think again, we might want to be looking at the parcel size and the building size.
Yeah, I was gonna say the building size because it says
Well,
as
this
far as
says
the
the,
wall is
10% of the wall
10%.
face, yeah.
Mhm. So what did we put as far as, we didn't put a percentage?
Yeah, we don't have one of
I
those.
was gonna say it's somewhere on a wall.
It
Didn't
might
we
be in
talk
the
about
back.
25%?
On that page 10.
This just says 5% of the area of the building,
And I don't necessarily,
not exceeding 5%. Attached signs within 50 foot of the front lot line. Oh, that's not on the actual building though, is it?
it is, it says it's attached, doesn't,
Oh,
it doesn't say awning or wall, but
Within a total sign area not exceeding 5%.
yeah, and I don't necessarily agree with that.
I was gonna say, do you want to change it at least to the standard 10% or? Attached, when a sign is located more than 50 foot from the lot line of the premises, the percentage of the sign area is in relation to the area of the wall. Well, so if your building is real close to the road, it is 5%. So this is what we talked about. But if it's with 50 foot away from the road, which would be that building up there, then the percentage goes up, right? Is that how I'm reading it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
She made us a note in there too, needs more work, not to exceed 100 square foot.
And then we went on up to 150 to 200, on the next page, we got the 15%, then 200 feet or more back is 20%.
Okay. Just a good guess, what would the setback be on that building like that? Or if we're talking about the general store here, that's within 50 foot from the roadway. So her signs would go down to the 5%, right? And then if
For
that
attached
one
signs.
sets off the road,
It could be bigger.
300 square foot, it could be 20% of the building.
Mhm.
But not to exceed, I think is what she said.
100 square feet. Because we talked, when we made this, we were talking about that building and then like painting a big something on the side of it because it's so big and broad. And you would see it from the road, but you wouldn't be able to necessarily see a lot of details. So
Well, if they did a mural too, that's a different top sign.
when he's talking about putting maps up there on somewhere out there, so.
Well, if you go on up to River Falls, they've got that whole side of their wall painted. That would be considered a mural, right? Even though it says camping, fishing, hunting, whatever it says up there.
I don't know. I would say yes, but I don't know.
It doesn't look bad.
No,
And that's what I know, anything that goes on in this school adventures place is not gonna look bad either.
do you know how far, what the setback is of that building,
Which building?
the Tallulah Ventures?
I do not. I have to pull.
well, I'm gonna say that it's about 200 feet.
I was gonna say, it's gotta be a little,
Maybe
maybe not the
more,
size of a football field, but yeah.
At least 200 feet.
So then they would be able to,
I'd put them up to 15%, or they can apply for a variance.
yeah. Do we have a definition of a mural?
We do not.
Maybe we need to insert that, just because a lot of the things that they're gonna be advertising could be done in that type of, like River Falls. But then again, with that,
I'm not quite sure I understand what this red line means, needs more work not to exceed
When we
one
were,
hundred square feet.
when we were talking in January, we were comparing the zoning versus the code, the zoning ordinance, and one of them said one thing and the other one said the other, and we were trying to make a match. And so this red is from where we were working in January when.
Because the not to exceed is not to exceed the percentage of the building,
Right, we had not,
you know what I mean?
right, I don't think we had just started discussing it. We didn't make any hard changes to anything.
but we could also exclude that as far as not having a square footage, but the percentage. Because the bigger the building, the more the square footage, smaller the building,
Yeah, so that's, I mean,
so there wouldn't be no
Not to
need.
exceed.
there wouldn't be any need for a not to exceed because it doesn't exceed the percentage of the building.
Yeah,
Right.
and do y'all like the setbacks and those percentages, or you want to change those?
I think the 5% needs to come down.
Well, it says right below that ratio between setback and sign area, 50 to 100 is 7.5. 100 to 150 is 10. 150 to 200 is 15, 200 or more is 20. So that don't even, the 5% of the building doesn't even apply if you're going by the setbacks.
Well, it does, it's less than 50 feet,
Oh, less than 50.
but it should still be down there in that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So do you want to change, do you want to talk about those percentages?
I'm trying to make sense of them. I'm trying to,
Trying to visualize it,
well,
Well, the
Different
further
way,
back
yeah.
the building
Bigger the
is, the bigger the sign.
right. But 10% of 150.
well, it doesn't have anything to do with the 150. That's just a setback.
right.
It's 10% of the building,
Which could be,
which you
Small
could
or
be
could be
talking
huge.
about the fruit balloon factory. I mean,
But it would just be considered one wall, not the building, right?
the wall that it's gonna be attached to.
Yeah. So if the side of the wall is 1,000 square foot, 10% would just be
100 square foot.
100 square foot. So if the further back you go, so it's 200 square foot from the road, and your sign gets to be 200 square foot up on that wall, if it's 1,000 square foot.
right.
I think it sounds pretty calm.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if it's right on the road, it's less than 50 foot from the lot line of the premises, the total sign is not to exceed the 5%, so 1,000 square foot building would need a much smaller sign.
Because it's right there next to the road.
Mhm.
So for this area, we want to keep what's in GMA, but add in the setbacks from 6103.
Yeah, I would think so.
We have to change 3 of the wall and awning signs then. Cause that's a conflict, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just get rid of 3 and 4. I don't think it should matter the height of it, if, I mean, do it all the way up your whole building side.
So we remove 3 and 4 and then just insert that.
That's
One.
setback.
Now, 1 and 2 into the 601.3.
I don't know if we should do 1.
No, I like the 1. We kind of added that, I think. The wall and awning sign shall not come above the parapet walls.
No, no,
Okay,
no,
well-
number 1 on 6103. Because that limits you still, we're gonna allow you to have 5%.
Oh, I also take that one out too, yeah.
And I think just add the number 2 for this, with the setback language. And then scratch 3 and 4 on the GMA. Then it would say wall and awning signs shall not project above the parapet wall. Wall signs shall not be projected beyond the building face. Awning signs shall not project beyond the building face more than 4 feet. And then your attached signs will be less than 50 feet, 5% of your building. 50 to 100, 7.5, 100 to 150, 10.
So what about 50 and below? What are we doing with that? 10%? Where does it say that?
In the
Section
written
2.
part right above it. For whatever reason, that wasn't included in the,
So 1,
right above the table.
oh, I see.
It's
So
like
it
they
does
didn't
say
put that
that
part in the
in 2.
table, they just,
Right, right,
for whatever
right.
reason, that
I
one was
got
written.
you. So we can put 2 in the table in and take out 3 and 4.
I think so.
All right,
Make 2 and the table are number 3.
yep, okay.
I mean, and I kind of like number 5 and 6 too, keeping those, they're on the next page on page 18.
Mhm.
Obviously, only located there, and then each tenant shall be limited to 1 wall or awning sign on each street facing wall.
Yeah, and again, if they have a problem with that and they have a building that fronts a road and that's all they have for signage, then they can ask for a variance and we can look at that individual. You know, maybe they might want to put 2 or 3 signs on there
Mhm.
because we're limited as to what we have. You know, we can look at that on an
Well, and that
individual.
gives them, they're gonna have Wander as a tenant inside there, so that lets Wander have a sign too.
Mhm.
Right,
I think that hits their concern for that.
that makes sense.
And that also works for the restaurant and the real estate that just put up a sign as 2 tenants.
Don't get me started.
I mean, that would meet that need too.
I just,
Or whatever comes over in the new, when they open up the new overlook part. I don't know what their tenant situation will be, but they'll give them.
what are we gonna do, just as an off the wall question, what are we gonna do about these temporary signs? That we see all over the place? Those aren't not gonna be grandfathered in.
I wouldn't think so, not a temporary sign, because a temporary sign, even in the current ordinance, should be limited
Right,
to the size and time limit.
right.
What do you consider temporary?
The
Obstacle
small,
sticks.
Anything that can be.
Like a real estate
put in and
sign.
Taken out without.
Okay.
Like, my Mary Beth said she puts hers out on Friday. The DOT allows her to have them on Friday and then she has to pick them up on Sunday. but she can't leave her sign saying general store this way after 441 out all the time. Well, the maximum on section G of 13, on page 18 of GMA, talks about the maximum aggregate sign area. And that might cover that if we include temporary signs too.
Mhm.
60 days.
Says it includes all freestanding signs.
Yeah. Maximum aggregate sign area. That's a good one. That definitely needs to be part of something. Where would that go?
Yeah, they have it near with the signs, with the sizes. I mean, I think it does, fits right in nicely with that.
So we want to insert G.
I think so, but we don't need to look at these sizes.
300 square feet for the entire parcel of a maximum.
We need to make sure they don't contradict what we've already said,
Right,
but we went down, so I don't think it should.
yeah, they're all dealing with maximums. $300 for anything over 3 acres. $180 for less than 3 acres, but over an acre, a little less, actually.
Yeah, do y'all want to change this 3,000 square feet to 1
1
acre?
acre, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that's all about. I believe in acres, 42,000 feet.
43,560.
Well, it just makes it easier to understand. Do a whole bunch of calculating.
Wonder where they came up with that 30,000 square feet.
So it's 43.
43,560 feet. It's not.
Cause it's like
21, so it's like
3/4.
3/4.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where they came up with that. Wonder if a lot of businesses are that.
Probably in
in
bigger cities.
Yeah,
So are we gonna keep the same size or do the 180 and the maximum of parcel less than 3 acres, but greater than 1 acre
right,
shall be allowed a maximum sign area of 180 square foot of the entire parcel, for the entire parcel.
right.
Is that comp? Comp?
Well, that means they could put in a stanchion and a monument. And we said their stanchion could be 70, their monument's 50, that's 120. So that gives them roughly 60 square feet of other signs.
Oh, then let's change that. Want to say 120?
But they wouldn't be able to have anything else
Well, they're gonna want
if we
like
include.
a flag sign
Yeah.
or something like that. It
Or
gives them a
temporary
little
sign.
bit of, I mean, we don't wanna get crazy, but we wanna give them a little bit of leeway, so we don't just limit them as to, there's your signs, you know. I mean, the restaurant, there's a perfect example. Sometimes though, people do need to come to the reality that the signs only do so much to bring in customers. Then you can cross that line and put too many signs out in front and scare people away. It works both ways, and that's coming from a business owner. You put too many signs out in front of your business, you can scare people.
Well, I was
away.
gonna say on number 4 here, it says these limits shall not include the area of any wall sign, window sign, or billboard signs located on that parcel. So if they had a station sign or a monument
It
sign,
counts.
that counts, but then the wall signs would not, right?
This says that, but we can change
Oh.
it. And the window sign is if you can, if it's inside, you can see it through the window.
We can just take that right out.
Well, we talk about that because we limit them.
Hmm.
Somewhere in here, we limit that. To 25% or something.
Hmm.
Of the parcel. Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm.
Might be something else.
Well, instead of saying not include, shall include and leave it at 180.
Take out the not.
Yeah, I mean, because that includes everything.
Yeah. Just leave it at-
It depends on what not means.
That way, that gives you a lot of room to have a few little different stuff.
You know, a flag or a open sign. Because number 5, these limits shall include, so if we're gonna include the freestanding, let's include the
Yeah.
wall signs.
Well, let's just put in there, let's just change that to these limits shall include and put all of it.
Okay,
So in other words, number 4 is gonna include number 5.
Yeah, we're just gonna make
And we're just taking
freestanding
out
up in
the-
there with it. And
Okay.
take out not,
Yeah.
because that gives them plenty of. Okay, that was, I had that down as a note, we needed to take care of that and the billboard section, so that was all that I had that we need to add. And where are we gonna put this in at? We're gonna put it right in behind the height requirements that they have.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably appropriate.
Okay.
Now we gotta go back up to billboard signs.
Yes, now we've decided on that. The biggest sign we have decided they can have is a stanchion up in the air at 100 square feet for somebody with more than 3 acres.
Well, the billboard sign is not really considered. You can't consider a billboard at 100 feet. That's not a billboard. So,
well, a while ago, we said 300 square feet instead of
That's-
672 on a billboard.
That's what our definition says.
Yeah.
Our definition says, shall mean any sign with a sign area exceeding 300 square feet.
Well, we would just change that to not exceeding 300 square feet.
okay. What about the 50 feet height?
I don't think we should go that high. That's really high. So you don't think
Did
they're
we
going
say
to get that
20?
too?
Well, 20 is for a standard size or standard sign, right, from top to bottom?
Yeah, the highest one we have right now, I think is 20.
That kind of like what you see in resort towns where they have like Helen and a lot of the beach towns, they don't allow the high billboards and all.
Yeah, a lot of them won't even allow like Walmarts and,
Yeah, over the roof lines. I mean, they require it to be,
yep. Well, it's because they didn't have any of the regulations, and then, of course, they had the urban sprawl, and now they're backtracking to try to limit some of that. Which,
I mean, I appreciate all the conversation here because the town has talked for years about what's the character, what's the tone of the town gonna look like. So it's not just today, it's future. And as y'all are implementing this, variances can be done. But this is the tone, the character the town's wanting.
Mhm.
And we're talking what, 4 miles?
I can tell you this, a few years ago, when I took pictures of from city limit to city limit on 441, it was well over 100, and I have copies of all those pictures, well over 100. And that's on 441 proper.
In a 4 mile.
So, I call them popsicle sticks. That can get real junky and dangerous, quite frankly.
Mhm.
So,
Well, if we change the height and the size, and we insert all the other language here, not 1,000 square foot from another billboard, 500 foot from a residential zoned area, 500 foot from a public park. That's gonna limit
Well,
everything.
even if we changed it to 1,000 feet from residential. Only leaves one little section of road, they can put it in 2 directions, I think. I mean,
Well, you gonna change it to that?
Yeah, I think
cause
so.
that puts it completely out of,
Yeah, that 500 feet stuff isn't enough, to be honest with you. Yeah, 1,000 is probably pretty good for that.
I'm writing all over your paper. I'll bring you mine back next.
And then we'll just
For
leave
next
the
month.
1,000 feet of another billboard sign, because I don't think we need to worry about
you know,
that.
that'll eliminate one. You don't have one wrong.
And what about 500 feet of a public park? Should we change that to 1,000 as well? Or just leave that at 500?
thousands a lot from this public park. I mean,
I think adding in the residential throws us out. A ways. Cause that's basically only the stretch on the other side of the red light,
Yeah,
and a stretch, really nothing on the other side, because
well, it
You're
also
within-
says,
Nunnally's over there with houses on it too.
it also
Yeah.
says that 500 zone is not visible from the public park.
I think we're good on 1,000 feet of residential.
What about the height, the feet, the height? Are we changing that to 20, or what are we doing with that? We gotta think about 300 feet on a 20-foot pole.
Yeah, I think we need to come down if we're gonna lower it, it needs to come down more. Maybe 250 feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if we're gonna make that 20 feet. Cause 250 feet is,
mark it on that wall, Mary.
well, 250
Like block.
feet is gonna be 10 by 25. So. Those blocks are 16 inches, they're 8 by
Oh.
16.
Why don't we, instead of saying square footage for the sign, that it can't exceed how many feet in length and how many
These
feet in
are
height?
2 feet.
Yeah.
2, 4,
If you
6,
visualize.
10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 25. It is like that wall right there. Plus 6, 8, 7.
That's still pretty large on a 20 foot.
It's about that
I don't
wall
know.
right
What
there.
kind of
Out of balance.
That would really block a lot of,
And you're only talking about that wall. Now, picture this. That wall on top of the wall. That's, you know what I'm saying?
The height.
20 feet, yeah. So twice that height, put that on top of twice that height.
I say we limit it length and height. Not necessarily square footage.
I mean, And the actual billboard is over twice that big. And over twice that
They
high.
don't seem that big when they're
So,
not.
so that, the billboard size that they're talking about, picture this now, is that area times 2. All right, so that's that wall, on top of that wall. And then 50 feet high, so 5 times that. Oh, that's amazing, you know what I mean? Well, I
You'll
go
be
to,
able to see that. from
I
a
go to
public park.
Atlanta 3 times a month. So
I
I
was gonna
see
say,
these things all the
yeah.
time, that's why I'm like, you don't want to.
All right,
You don't
so
wanna,
for instance, you come down our road, you can see the red light. So we'll see that coming down our road every day. above,
You'll see it from the mountains, man, that's what you'll
Which
be
you'd
looking
be
at.
able to see it from any public park.
Absolutely, you can see it for everything, probably all of Tallulah Falls. It'd be like, that'd be it,
What size were y'all talking?
300.
300, and then we dropped it down to possibly 250.
I'm almost thinking
Because
that
a stand, just, not that Google's 100% correct, but a standard size that you see on all these sites are 672, which is
Yeah.
14 by 48 wide.
Yeah, that's what
So
it
if you
says
picture
here,
these McDonald's signs,
Right.
that's
it's humongous.
enormous.
It's like putting this building on top of a 50-foot pole, that's your sign. I mean, you can see that basically from everywhere in Tallulah Falls. There wouldn't be anywhere in Tallulah Falls that you wouldn't see that. The best view would be at the top of the mountain of that sign. I don't think anybody wants to see that. Anywhere. I don't think anybody wants to see half of that.
I would agree. Well, let's drop it down to 150. And
I mean, I think the 20-foot, we said 24-foot, was that the height? I said 20,
20 is the maximum height of expansion, okay?
okay. I thought I saw 24-foot somewhere with something. I don't know why, but some reason 24-foot sticks in my head. I don't know why. Because I think there was like a 4-foot base or something and a 20-foot pole. Somewhere we came up with that. All right, so you think 150 feet?
again, if they want to come in and, apply for a variance, they can always do that, but when you're talking about a sign that big on a 20 or even 24-foot or 25-foot, still a large sign for this area.
Question, earlier there was conversation about just removing billboard. What if you had 2 drafts and you went to the town attorney and said, is this an option? Is this yes or no? If it's not, it's not an option, then you go to the size requirement you're talking about. I mean, just a thought. Like you said, the likelihood of somebody doing a billboard, we don't know the future they may, but everybody else, if there are any, they're already grandfathered. Just let him give the legal opinion on that. And if he says no, then you have to go to the size.
And there's a sign out here on the highway going south, be on the left-hand side. I don't know what it's advertising, I'll have to look again, but that's a good size sign. It's white with,
Yeah, that's the Tallulah Loop, right around that turn off of the Tallulah Loop. I don't know what you're talking about. It's on the corner. where the
yeah, it's
street-
right in the corner, so, I mean, that's a good size sign.
Yeah, it's about half the size of the wall. Maybe not quite that high. It's about half of what we're talking about.
Well, if we're wanting everything to fit in, it doesn't need to exceed the height of the trees around it.
20 feet. One that's a 50-foot pine. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can start there and, maybe it would be something to talk to somebody else about.
Look at other cities and see what they have as far as a historic town.
We'll see if
And see
they,
if the attorney says we can
Yeah.
expand it.
yeah. Yeah,
It's only a four
I-
mile stretch, 4.5
I think
mile
that
stretch. So
honestly,
you can't put it in?
in my mind, it's gonna be the way you word it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know, you would have to say something like, in order to conform to, you know, the city of Tallulah Falls enhancement and the way we want Tallulah Falls to look, billboard signs are not gonna be an option for,
Yeah,
but I mean, you know.
if there's any
obviously-
property already located on the highway that had a sign, I don't think we could make them move it, but I think we could prevent them from putting it there.
I don't know what our current one says about it.
Well, they don't even have the,
Anything in there about it?
I don't think so. Okay, that's all.
What do we do about illuminated signs?
Illuminated.
Did we ban those or?
We did have a discussion.
Here's on
about it.
page 3. At the very top, shall mean a sign that has a light cast upon the sign from the source of an external light source directed primarily toward such signs. And I think we were talking about that last time, whether it was lit from within or if it was lit.
Yeah.
I still think a sign, if you look at Dollar General down there, aren't they lit from within?
They are.
Yeah, they shine down. They shine down instead of shining up.
Well, they have a
No,
light on
inside,
the
it's
inside of
yellow
the
glows.
light, or inside of the sign, so that you can see it.
Uh,
And then some signs have lights shining up on it. So you can see it.
I think the one on the building shines down on it maybe, but the one on the road is illuminated.
Within,
Well, just a little bit of history, when the middle school put up the illuminated sign. To my knowledge, it must not have been anything in the ordinances at that time. And so like really bright, and so the town just went to the school and said, hey, can you dim them down a little bit? And they were like, yeah, sure, so I don't know, is there something in there?
that's
They're
a
good
animated
neighbors and they
sign,
agreed
right?
to reduce the amount of illumination, but
But there's illuminated and animated.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, we-
animated.
We
That would
can
be-
animated.
okay, you banned them.
Animated is the one that changes with all the,
Gotcha.
and then illuminated is the one that has the lights, either shining on them or shining on the inside out. I know that sounds,
I was just thinking most billboards have illuminated signs, and I knew we banned some things where I was like.
That might be something that on the billboard thing. Is, are you gonna allow illuminated billboards? Do you or do you not? Because that goes back to what's the tone of the town, night pollution.
No,
So if
because,
you're dressing a billboard, you may
Illuminate
want,
anything.
whichever way you want to do it, I would put it in.
yeah, because it has to do with screech owls. I'm sure we can find an owl that bothers.
Are the is it addressed on the billboards about lighting?
No, but we might not want to have anything on a pole lit from within,
Just,
or even
Yeah.
on it or
because
anything.
that could be,
Light
it could be like the
pollution.
one going to town or Clayton,
But Tallulah Falls
the
signs are
automated
lighted.
or animated sign.
I believe the Tallulah Falls signs are lighted for the city of Tallulah Falls. They're illuminated.
Are they on a pole?
No.
Yeah.
It's on the monument, right?
I think they're stanchion.
There's,
Oh, stanchion.
It is.
Yeah, that's different than 20 foot up in the air. Lit up.
Well, now the sign down at Dollar General would be 20 foot, right?
It's lit from within. So we might want to ban all. We did ban lit from within signs.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, all we have is the ones that has the light shining on
Yeah, so we don't have any more of that light pollution. Light. Okay. All right, so let's come up with some scenarios if we can't ban billboards. What do you want to have as our requirements for height and size? Nothing more than 250 square feet. Then we need to change our definition also. But we can put a billboard sign shall meet any sign area exceeding 100 square feet, because a stanchion sign can't be more than 100 square feet.
Oh, let's go with that.
But is that, what we consider to be a billboard, is that,
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, there is a definition of a billboard sign. They do give an actual size.
but what can we call it?
I mean,
Just
Anything more than 100 square feet? Because
A
that covers
freestanding
anything
sign.
bigger than a stanchion. All right, I'll change that. And like I said, the attorney can look at it too.
yeah,
And then we'll say billboard signs cannot exceed 250 square feet. And they cannot exceed what in height and width? Fifteen and 50,
well,
15 and 25,
here's the thing.
or 14, well, they only have 14.
So-
10 and 25.
So here's the deal. If you have a 250 square foot sign, right? That's, say, 10 by 25. So 10 feet is the sign. So then you would only be, if you said 20-foot height maximum, then it can only be a 10-foot pole.
And that's no taller than this building, right?
Right. You're putting
You don't keep signs.
a 20-foot wide sign on a 10-foot pole, I mean, it's.
Well, we could go right in the middle and say,
We can say it's only 10 foot tall, maximum of 10, because this says maximum of 14 feet, so if we scaled it down and said a maximum of 10 feet, then they could go 25 foot in length would be the maximum they could go.
but we took that section out. Billboard signs shall not exceed 14 foot. I marked it out. If I wanted it out or not. but
I say we keep it, because we don't want them to turn it around in reverse and have it ridiculously tall.
And then just put it as 10 feet in height, and what would that be for length?
25 would be the maximum length. To reach the maximum of 250.
Okay.
And how high did you say?
We haven't talked about that. We've
Well,
been
that's
on
where
there.
it starts to get crazy. Because I mean, realistically, you'd have to be able to put that thing 30 feet in the air.
So then let's drop it from 50 to 40. Again, it's gonna be limited to where it can be within the.
Well, I think 30 feet would be okay. If I, 25 foot wide on a 20-foot pole would be okay. That would keep you 30 feet. But 30 feet is, 30 feet's pretty high.
But that's from the bottom of the pole to the top of the sign.
Complete height overall.
And not to exceed the surrounding trees, not to exceed the height of the surrounding trees. Whichever's less.
So they'll just cut those down. Yeah,
Oh, well, the closest one's beside it. Can we put that there?
like I said from the beginning, I'd like to eliminate it completely, but, you know, like I said, I would rather lean towards the textbook definition of a billboard sign, which is 672 square feet,
maximum.
50 feet high, and put not allowed in the confines of Toledo Falls. But, you know, everyone rightfully suggested that an attorney's input might be smart.
But if
And
we
then
do
if
that,
we can't, then we can limit it this way, I guess.
and if we do that and just get rid of it and say they're not allowed and put the definition in there, what it is or whatever, but our definition should, I think, still say, that it's any sign with a sign area exceeding 100 feet, because 100 square feet, because our largest sign caps at 100.
Right,
So we
so
just
if
have-
the attorney says we could just say not at all,
Then we can't allow
we
any
can,
sign
we
more
can,
than.
we can put that, and then we can also add no signs in excess of,
There you go.
Oh, and that way it'll cover it both ways.
you know.
All
So
right.
that's still a big question mark, but at least we,
And maybe, we can have that asked tomorrow.
if they want to talk about it a little bit, so that we can go forward on our next meeting.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to adopt GMA section 13 as with all the changes that we just talked about.
A second.
All in favor?
And that was it on everything that I found that I needed to do, but I don't necessarily mean.
Well, we should probably go over it one more time. but I
Yeah,
think-
after it's completely.
Yeah, well, we're at least we're getting somewhere with it.
No question, did it just, I may have missed it, because I was on my phone. Did it discuss the popsicle signs?
Those are considered to be temporary, and I think we have a temporary sign in here.
Okay, you've already, okay, that's fine, I'll look at the next one, that's fine.
Well, the one thing that, we haven't discussed and I kind of want to talk about next time is the non-conforming signs, whatever they're called. Cars, rocks, pigs, boats. How many of those are, you know what I mean? So, next time I want to kind of talk about that a little bit.
I probably need to, I don't know if the variance stuff is in here too.
So that's gonna be, for new business, a zoning text amendment exemption of a setback requirement for certain structures or buildings. This is from the mayor and the town council, proposed zoning text amendments regarding an exemption of a setback requirement for certain structures and buildings. On the background, it says, as of February 10th, 2022, regular council meeting unanimously agreed that the Planning and Zoning Commission needed to address an oversight regarding a recent change to the zoning regulations to no longer require a building permit for structures and or buildings less than 200 square foot. Because these structures and buildings no longer require an oversight by the zoning administrator, the council determined that certain structures should also no longer be subject to certain aspects of a lot line setback requirement, and charged the Planning and Zoning Commission with the task of beginning the process of holding all required public hearings for the purpose of amending the official zoning ordinance of the town of Tulare Falls. All right, so unconditioned space, a lack of an active climate control system for a structure or building. So a lack of an active, so it don't have heating and air, right? That was, that's saying. The intent of the definition is to define a space that is specifically not intended for human habitation. a playhouse, and a doghouse. Playhouse, a detached, unconditioned structure or building 200 square foot or less that is outside for children to play on, in, or around shall include, but not limited to, a swing set, playhouse, forts, tree houses, and the like. A doghouse, detached and unconditioned structure, building being 32 square foot or less for the purpose of sheltering an animal. Right, so right now, this is all exempt from the setback requirements set forth herein. This article shall be exempt for playhouses, doghouses, or other structures or buildings of similar nature that do not require a building permit. So from what I'm gathering, that did not require a building permit, correct?
Those don't.
Those, okay, those do not. The one in question, is that what the variance request is for? Is that building less than 200 square foot? And it's unconditioned with no heating and air, and it's intended to be a playhouse?
Who submitted that? Who's asking for that?
Well, the mayor and the council had talked about it at their last meeting. I think it was brought before them because
We need additional definitions on what those were. That's what I'm gathering for this. And then they want us to also add that we need to get rid of the setbacks for those.
But I'm asking about who requested it?
It says mayor and council from their last meeting.
you know,
I don't
Yeah,
think they
well,
were
I-
put in.
I don't have a problem with the definition, adding the definitions.
I have a
But
problem with the setbacks.
I do too. I
I
don't
do
think we
too.
need a dog pen on this, on the line either.
No, and you know, we're starting to speak for, property owners. And I'm sorry, but I think when you do that, you're starting to get yourself in trouble.
Well, I went by that structure on my way here. I did, and it's dangerous if it's a playhouse and children are playing right next. I mean, it's probably 6 inches from the pavement.
yeah. Well,
It's
we're
just right
also
there on-
told that that structure, the platform of that structure has been there for many, many years. So
I
with
don't
that,
know about that.
the platform, I guess, would be
The base.
the base. I'd like to hear from the zoning administrator. But we also got to follow what we said in his ordinance. And we said in is no, all setback requirements set forth shall be exempt for this type structure.
No, I don't think we ever discussed the setbacks for that, did we?
Well, it
We didn't
says in
discuss-
section 1501.7, all
I
setback
think
requirements set
They want us,
forth.
this
Okay.
is the language I think they
No,
want us to
all we
add.
talked about was not requiring the,
Permit.
Yeah,
we
Okay.
never talked about. the
Right above that, it
setbacks.
says amend by adding article, whatever that is, by adding. So they want us to add that in.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with
I don't
that.
have a problem with having playhouses on the property lines, that are not street facing. I think we'll get it to, as a parent, having safety issues with having a playhouse on the side of, on the street, with issues with the setback on the street side. And as a homeowner, I would have a problem with somebody putting their dog house right on my property line.
Right.
And then building a fence around it and leaving that dog right there.
Right,
I would have a
well,
problem.
it's sitting up. Have you seen it? It's sitting up high. You couldn't put, well, I guess you could.
but we're not
No,
just,
I'm-
we're not only talking about that
We're talking
particular
about
one.
all things going
We're
forward.
talking about going forward.
I mean, I,
Somebody could build dog houses and put them right on the property line.
like Tamara and I are really close, and if she wants to put a dog house right there on our property line, and she had a yapping dog, that would be right at my bedroom window. I would have a problem with that.
I would do.
But as a kid's playhouse, The kid's not, there shouldn't be a kid outside playing and when we should be sleeping, so I don't think that's necessarily an issue on the setbacks on your side and your back, but I don't know.
The other thing I noticed, it's foggy up here, and if you're a driver and you're distracted, and you've got whatever structure right at the street, that's dangerous.
That street is so,
And a lot of our streets are not your standard
All right.
width already, and then and you have somebody visiting and something's right there and a ball comes, whatever, it's just.
No, I'm not comfortable with it. If the council wants to give a variance to a particular person, and they want to take that responsibility on themselves, that's fine. But I don't just want a broad stroke setbacks for particular buildings going forward, whether they're required of a permit or not. It's fine that you don't want to require a permit for a shed or, a small building, dog house, whatever. But as far as setbacks are concerned, I'm not gonna get involved in that.
Well, we need to know what that area is zoned as. That way we can look at what our street setbacks are, period, for any structure, correct?
I think we changed them
Yeah,
to where
we
they're pretty
changed it.
low
We
on
changed
the
the
side but the
setbacks.
front.
We've already narrowed
I mean,
setbacks.
it should be 5 foot, 10 foot.
Yeah, we narrowed
And
setbacks.
like I said, I don't have a problem with us changing the setbacks for a child's playhouse on everything but a street facing lot line. But,
Yeah, but they're broad stroking all buildings that aren't permitted. And if you want to broad stroke all buildings that aren't permitted, then I'm gonna broad stroke and say no. Unless you want to give me a further definition, I'm not gonna sign off on that. There's no way. I don't want anything to do with liability of putting any kind of a dog house or child's house on the street. Or
Is that
next
considered
to
be
somebody's
Habersham over
property.
there? Is that considered to be Habersham?
I don't know where the cutoff is on this side. I don't think it is. I
You
think
think
it's
it's
all
right?
Raven.
It's still Raven if my memory's right.
What's the name of that street? Does anybody know? What's an adjacent street?
I just said, what is it now? Hardman is an
Hardman,
adjacent
yeah, Hardman.
street. But is the request, we're not talking about specific property, but it's the request from the council is a broad stroke,
Yes.
so that's what you're addressing.
But
And
they,
it doesn't talk about whether it's all lot lines to eliminate all setbacks for all.
My contention is that we eliminated the permit. We're not gonna charge people a permit fee. But I'm not gonna continue on that path to keep eliminating our rules and regulations as going forward. Because some of those things are protection for property owners. And I understand that we don't wanna charge somebody a fee for a permit for building a specific building. But I think there should be some rules and regulations as far as safety is concerned for where we're putting buildings of any kind.
see if we can find Jane's house, big house.
like the big white house?
Yeah,
It's right there. No, that's the coffee shop, right there.
so it's the road up here.
It would be back this way.
If my memory's right, the council meeting, there really wasn't much discussion on it, they just said. We need to go to your.
Yeah, I don't have I'm okay with us adding those definitions, but I'm not okay with adding that article 4.
So there's Hardman. There's,
Yes.
there went but just a couple of houses, so there's one. There's two. I just want to see what it's zoned as. So it would be zoned R1. Do you think that's it?
It's on one. Single family.
Yeah, but as far as the setback on the single family on a side street. No. I think the only place that should be 0 setback is on central business or downtown district. Right? I mean, say this street right here. Residential should have a setback on the street. Not the side, I mean, maybe the sides too, but as far as the street side goes. Because even if you say 5 foot, that eliminates.
Eliminate anything, she said, because it's. Oh, yeah.
Y'all want to table this until we have more information?
Well, yeah,
Or,
just going forward,
Eliminate.
I'm not gonna sign off on it.
well, I mean, we
I
could
mean, I
eliminate.
make a motion to accept the definitions.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with the definitions. I'll make a motion for that.
Second,
All in favor?
So what does that mean, though? You accept what they said?
Well, we're
No.
accepting just the definitions, the definition of an unconditioned space, a playhouse or a doghouse. What we're not accepting is the setbacks shall be exempt for a playhouse or a doghouse. So do you want to deny or?
that's up to you, but I deny it.
I would say.
I
yes.
deny it as it's
I
written.
deny it.
Yeah, I
As
deny it.
written, okay.
So I'll change my motion back to accept the definitions and deny the setbacks as written.
Okay. Would you like to make the second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? So that eliminates that question for us. Or partial for that question. All right, open floor for discussion.
No, I want to thank you again for all the general P and Z and a lot of heavy lifting.
We need to ask for Zoom. If anybody on Zoom wants to talk.
I completely forgot about you.
I've been looking.
Oh, okay. Motion to adjourn. All right, second. All in favor?
I'll give you that.
I'm sorry, I wrote all over. I'm so
That's
sorry.
good.
Here, you can have this one back. This was, that's good.
So what do you think about that project?